We're going to get started. Thanks everybody for coming out today. It's good? Tasty? Great. If you have not gotten a lunch from our friends at Rhythm and Spice, be sure to do that. Menus are over there. Man, they once again knocked it out of the park. So big round of applause to Rhythm and Spice for providing lunch today. Yes! Before we call our panelists up, we've got a couple quick announcements. Commercials, as we like to do here. But real quick, first time at the EC, raise your hand. Fantastic, love to see that. Welcome, if it's your first time. Who here is an entrepreneur? Raise your hand. Aha, welcome home. Love that. Look, if you have not been to the EC before or not been to the EC in a long time, this is the home for Nashville's entrepreneurs. We've been around for 13 years. We've called this building home for 10 of those. Just really wanting to help entrepreneurs go further, faster. We do that in a few ways. One way is exactly like this, where we bring together the community at least once a week to provide educational and social content that allows you not just to build your knowledge base, but also your community. If you're not yet plugged in to Amplify, our advisor network, be sure to do that. We've got over 150 experts in different industries and domains that can help you level up your business. Right now, if you visit ec.co/apply, you can also see we are accepting applications now for our FinTech cohort, as well as our next in-flight cohort. So take a look at those. We'd love to have you involved here programmatically if you're not yet. A couple things make events like this happen. One is our community partner, which is Dell Technologies. A quick word from them before we get started.
Sponsor of the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Dell for Startups is a program from Dell Technologies that helps entrepreneurs launch, grow, and scale their startups by providing resources, tech expertise, and scalable technology solutions. Some of the key benefits include a dedicated technology advisor who is local to Nashville, discounts and promotions on select Dell products and services, and access to our vast portfolio of products. For any questions on how to access these benefits, visit dell.com/startups or contact your dedicated Dell for Startups point of contact.
And for us, that point of contact is Joy. Joy is not here today, but she usually gets to hang out a lot here. So when you see her, we can introduce you to her as well. You've got some more info in your seat. If you've got any technology questions, what kind of hardware you need to grow your business, Joy's going to be the person for that. What also makes events like this and the entire EC operate are our growth partners. These are dedicated partners that we have in these 4 key areas, from banking to technology, legal, and accounting. If you have questions at all, just a question. You think it's a dumb question? I bet it's not. And so allow us to connect you with our partners at Pinnacle, RJ Young, CLA, or Baker Donaldson to help you get those answers. So they want to help entrepreneurs. They've proven that. We believe in that. So you're welcome to contact me. You can contact Lauren McWhorter or Trey McCoy in the back as well, who got you checked in. Any of us can help you get those answers you need. Don't feel stuck. We want to help get you unstuck as we go about this. And then one more thing is check out what Launch Tennessee is doing with the Invest TN Fund. So sometimes to grow your idea, you need funding. We have, in addition to these regular events, we also have one capital-related event a month. And we partner with Invest TN on that. Invest TN is an investment fund. So they are an equity shareholder on your cap table. And if you're like, what does all that mean? We can teach you what all that means. So they are making investments into Tennessee-based startups. This is where you can apply. Our staff can help you with that application, but if you need investment capital to grow your business, Invest TN is there investing across the state. So far, they've invested in 8 different Nashville companies so far, just since November, when they really scaled up this fund. And then that leads us to our panel. So look, round of applause, let's call up Rhonda, Zach, and Adam. You guys get up here, we're gonna chat, come on, come on. But I'm going to let them each introduce themselves and share a little bit more about what we do as I preface the panel. But what shaped today was talking about how can I grow my startup with big hats if I need to, which is what Zach is modeling for us. How can I grow my startup if I kind of don't know really how to get the word out? What are some other ways? Yeah, I can buy ads. Okay, yeah, social media, I get it. What else could be out there? What else could get people's attention? What else could get me and my company noticed? And so I've got 3 creative people who are doing that, helping startups, helping companies do that. All 3 are entrepreneurs, all 3 are business owners. So they're walking the same walk that a lot of you are. So let's start with Adam. Grab the mic, unmute it. Adam Tanaka runs the merch specialist, so he's going to be talking about merch throughout this panel as we get to ask questions. But before we get into the questions, Adam, just introduce yourself. Tell folks a little bit about your background and what the merch specialist does.
Yeah. So I'm Adam Tanaka. I am a Nashville founder and entrepreneur. I started a screen printing merch company in 2008. Got to work with some amazing clients, Goodwill Industries, Gibson Guitars, Chef Shop Rock out of the West. I have a consulting company where we step in for brands and we help them build and grow revenue streams with merch. And I have a company called K-House Supply, which is a baby and kids brand focused on childhood mental health. As a merch specialist, I help brands and companies and organizations kind of stop leaving money on the table when it comes to merch, because a lot of people don't realize how much money you can make with merch, and merch is so much more than just t-shirts, but we can dive into that later. Yeah.
Awesome. Zach, tell me, let's talk a little about what you do, your background, the business you run right now.
I just walk around Nashville with big hats on. That's all.
I love it.
My name's Zach. I own a PR firm called ZTPR. Started in Los Angeles for about 12 plus years. Have represented everybody from Guns N' Roses downwards, some Fortune 500 companies, tech startups, celebrities, and so forth. Moved out to Nashville 3.5 years ago. Brought the firm this way. Wrote a book called Enough of the Bullshit, which was alongside a couple of my friends and clients, Mark Cuban, Jordan Belfort, and David Meltzer. And where I kind of come in with brands is, if you want traditional media, I tell people to fuck off, and I don't do that. I am outside of the box. I am all about creativity. I am about getting your story out there and helping companies quickly scale, whether it's, you know, $10,000 is all you have in the bank. Let's make you $10 million in a couple months through some creative ideas. And I've been able to do it multiple times with multiple different types of companies, from, you know, parent companies, fashion brands, you name it. So that's kind of where I come in.
Awesome. And then Rhonda Ladner with Connect Gifting. Talk a little bit about your background and what Connect does.
Sure. So I started my career a long time ago. Accidentally fell into a B2B sales role and stuck around in the world of sales and business development because I realized that those skills were transferable to multiple industries, and so I've been able to craft some longevity in a career that ultimately 3 years ago brought me into the world of gifting. And joined a company here in Nashville, Batch Gifts, which had been around for a long time, doing great work, and we were able to really hone in on the B2B side of that business and corporate gifting. And now, as we speak, a group of original Batch co-founders as well as several of Batch alums, we've come together and we're forming a brand new company called Connect Gifting, launching as we speak. So that's exciting and new and something different, but the thing that Connect is going to focus almost primarily on is B2B gifting and the ways that the business community is using gifts to do all sorts of things, but for today's purposes, more specifically about marketing. So looking forward to talking about that.
So I've got a couple questions for our panel that will run down, but we want to make sure that you get your questions answered. And so be thinking of those. There will be a point where you can ask those in front of the group. All three of these folks will also be available after this. We'll sort of sit here and chat for a little bit. But I don't invite people on panels who aren't accessible. And so whether it's getting their card, you think of something later, these are your experts today. Real quick, so they can get a sense, who here sells a product or a service to other businesses? You're B2B, okay? And then who here is going direct to consumer? You're B2C. Awesome, cool. All right, so the first question, Adam, we'll start with you talking about merch. So merch is more than t-shirts. A lot of times I think companies get a word out, I'm going to a trade show, or I need to make a t-shirt, I need to make a koozie, a keychain. When somebody asks you that question, what do you tell them?
Well, when they come to me wanting to do something, it's usually, hey man, we need to make a bunch of shirts. We need to do that. And basically, kind of tell them to pump the brakes. And let's like Zach was saying, get a little creative. Let's think outside the box here. There's so much more to your brand than just a t-shirt, because everybody has a t-shirt. And for me personally, I'm just going to go ahead and admit it, I get a free shirt and I'll probably just give it to Goodwill or even throw it away. And so it's one of those things where we dive in, we get creative, we understand their target audience, branding 101, marketing 101, and we really dive into what their audience wants and needs. And whether it's a tech company, real estate, whatever it might be, merch is relevant, and so we'll dive in. If it's a gym or if it's a health coach, maybe we'll look at journals or something for their clients to go through and do a fully custom journal or something like that. But yeah, we just try to think outside the box and get weird with it.
Get weird with it. So Zach, similar question for PR. Hey, I think my name in the newspaper, which I don't even know what that means anymore, but you know, we want to get the name out there, so when somebody comes to you because they see PR in your business title, similar, what's the first thing you say to them? What do you try to explain or learn from them?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I say to everybody is you can have the best product, best service, best talent, doesn't matter what you do, if nobody knows about it, are you really the best? And so the first thing you need to do is, you know, get your product or service or whatever it is out there. And the best way to do that is through the media, through word of mouth, through merch, through different means, so that people actually know who you are. So when they come to me, the first thing I kind of, you know, talk to them about is what is your goal? And once I figure out that goal, let's work backwards from that goal. Is it I want to be in every Whole Foods, or I want to be in every, you know, whatever. I want to be #1 on Amazon. And let's work backwards and figure out, okay, how can we tell your story? And with a lot of product brands these days, you know, I always tell people is, you got to put somebody in front of the camera. People want to connect to brands these days. If you look at like Tesla, Elon Musk, you know who the founders and owners of all these different companies are. So it's the same thing for product brands. I tell them, you know what, put yourself out there and let's dive into your story. If you own a parent brand, okay, are you a parent? You know, why are you doing what you're doing? And once we can figure that out and get that story out there, then we're off to the races.
And so one of the same questions when it comes to you says, oh, it's Christmas time, we say yes, we do this every year. What do you say next?
So I think it really depends on where in the buyer's journey your target audience is. So if you are gifting to a client, somebody who's already a client, then that gift needs to be very intentional. It needs to be very well thought out, custom curated. You need to be doing account-based marketing, where you're marketing directly to that prospect or that client for additional business and growth. But if what you're trying to accomplish is just some visibility, and you want some brand awareness, and you're trying to do that at holiday time or any other time, then the gift can be a little broader. Like the gift can be a little more not gimmicky, but something that's going to be attention-getting, and that's going to get you a reaction in a way that other traditional forms of marketing may not be able to, because they're receiving a gift. So I think it just really depends on what you're trying to do. And so the first thing we would do is start asking some questions about who's the audience and what are you trying to accomplish? What kind of connection are you trying to make with this?
So I've just got 2 more questions for each of you, and then we're going to open it up. Again, that's a warning. Have your questions ready. So whoever wants to jump in first, but each of you answer this one. Tell me about a success story. You don't have to name the client if you don't want to, but somebody who came to you, you helped them do your area of expertise a little bit differently, and they had some kind of success. Tell us the story of how we know this is working, what you do, and how you market creatively.
I could tell a funny story. You want a funny story? I like funny stories where it gets people's minds going a little outside of the box, and I'm not telling everybody to go do this, but I've had a lot of clients that we've done a lot of PR stunts for. A lot of them that you probably know, and you probably read, and if I told you the truth, you wouldn't believe the media anymore, if you actually believe the media now. But I had a client, well, I did it for myself too, but I'll go to another client with some bigger names. This client came into my office, I won't say the name, and she goes, and she looks up, just to paint a picture, you can Google this after. She was from the Ukraine, she looked like a streetwalker, she was in a little bra and underwear, and walked in my office and said, Zach, you make me famous, I give you $20,000. And this was back in like 2014. And I said, you know what? I'll make you famous. You just have to listen to every word I say. And she goes, okay. I go, okay, Zach, I listen to you. You tell me. So I said, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to say you're from Ukraine. Okay, Mila Kunis grew up in Ukraine. And we're going to say that when you guys were younger, you were best friends with Mila Kunis. And Mila Kunis stole your pet chicken when you were 5 years old. But your pet chicken's name was Doggy because you couldn't afford a dog. And all these years, you've been a singer, and you finally made it back to America. And you came to America, now all these years later, and you see Mila Kunis. She's a big star. She's married to Ashton Kutcher. And I said, we're going to sue Mila Kunis for $5,000 for emotional distress because she stole your pet chicken and now it's bringing back all these memories now that you're back here in America. So we filed a lawsuit. I talked to Ashton and Mila's people so they knew what was going on. And we put it out, and obviously the story ran on TMZ. Woman sues Mila Kunis for stealing her pet chicken. All of a sudden, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, Ashton was just launching his app called Meerkat at the time, and he wanted some attention on that, so they did a video together, and he's like, Mila, what are you stealing this woman's chicken? You know, and she goes, I'm going to sue her back for making me listen to this terrible song called Give Me Green Card. And anyways, long story short, this song got millions of views, all over the press, from the Today Show to this to that. And the woman who walked in my office had a show in Vegas for a few months, you know, performing. She had a residency there and made a lot of money. And I haven't heard from her since. I hope she got her green card. So there's stories like that, and then there's other stories outside the box where, you know, you find the right partnership and it's no lawsuits and stuff, but with the right people involved and the right stories being told, you can go. I had a company, you know, a couple months ago from $1 million to $100 million brand just because we were able to pair them up with Megan Fox and put them on the Kelly Clarkson show. And we made, you know, a few $1 million in a day and outwards from that, from ad sales and everything after. So the thing is, you know, when you're going through Instagram or you're going through the web, what are the stories that are going to catch your attention? What do you stop and read? And if it's something that's totally witty, crazy out there, then you're kind of like, hey, I'll read that, I'll forward that. You see this dumb shit that's going on? And that's what gets people talking. If you're just going to put out a press release saying, hey, our new product is out, and you start being very salesmanship, people don't care about that, and you're not going to make it very far in today's society.
Run ahead. Anything with the lawsuit? Celebrate?
That was fun. I think one thing that always stands out to me that blows my mind to this day, even getting to be involved in it, I'm still like, did that really happen? Was that I was, you know, worked with a brewery here in Nashville, and we actually for 1 whole month, their merch outsold their beer, and that was something that, you know, they came to me and was like, yeah, this happened this month, last month, and yeah, so anyways, what's next? And it's like, whoa, you gotta, okay, there's so many things here, like you have to celebrate that one, but merch outsold your freaking beer, and you're one of Nashville's oldest breweries, what's the deal? And so, so we took, you know, basically what we did was, what Zach mentioned earlier, is we took a high-level goal and we reverse engineered it all the way down to extremely tactical. And we did some limited edition stuff, some pre-orders. We built some hype behind the products that we were launching. Again, they weren't t-shirts, they weren't koozies, or any of the boring stuff. And it paid off for them. They were able to have that extra money to upgrade their equipment, to get bigger, better products. Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, apparently, and gifting's a whole lot more boring than all that. I don't know. I will talk a success story from a former batch client, now currently already a Connect client, is here in Nashville, and it's Built Technologies, the company that does construction finance software, financial management software for the construction industry, and they did give me permission to talk about them today, but they, in my opinion, are doing best in class gifting strategies in the marketing space, and they do it in a couple of different ways, but a couple of the ways that they've worked with us in the past. One is at kind of the very top of the funnel, just creating brand awareness. It was a couple of years ago in Texas, a law changed in Texas that no longer required physical copies of liens, where for the first time ever, those things could be part of a construction management package electronically. So it opened up all of a sudden the entire state of Texas for them as prospects. And so they needed to create some brand awareness very quickly and get in front of a lot of people very quickly. And so they did some A/B testing with, more traditional forms of marketing and then also with gifting. And so we worked together to put together a package that had a mix of more traditional merch, which ended up being like a stress ball, but in the shape of a garbage can, or I'm sorry, a recycle bin. It was a recycle bin with their branding on it. And then also we found a local candy bar maker in Texas that's very well known there that allowed us to co-brand their candy bars. And so it was a really nice mix of like showing that, okay, we understand Texas, but also this is who we are and we can recycle all that paper that we don't need anymore and let's have a conversation. And the conversion rates when they did their A/B testing compared to the traditional marketing versus inserting a gift for brand awareness, they had like a 50% increase. And so based on the size of your deals, you can justify that really, really quickly. They call it ROI, we call it ROG, return on gifting, but the results are the same. And that was one way. And then another way, in my opinion, that's a little more measurable is when you use gifting for account-based marketing, when it's a little more specific. So maybe it's a prospect who has engaged with you already in some way, maybe they've downloaded content, maybe they've visited your website several times, or it's just a prospect that you know is qualified because maybe they're doing business with your competitor, or even if it's B2C, you know that they're out there buying what you're trying to sell. So when you want to get a little more specific, and when the deal size warrants it, then you can get very creative with custom curations and doing very specific gifting with things that are put together to meet a theme or an idea or your brand or whatever it is. And we had another client share with us that their average cost per lead, like on LinkedIn, was $350. Well, you can do a lot of gifting. You can send some really nice intentional gifts in that price range, and especially when the conversion rates support it. So, yeah.
So last question for each of you, and then we'll open it up. Let's talk money. So again, marketing, advertising, the variety of budgets. Sometimes to really make a dent and get a sample size, I can measure the effectiveness. I gotta have much money. I'm a small business, I'm a startup. I mean, how much should I set aside? How much do I need to really play in each of your areas, whether it's with you or somebody else, or I try to sort of DIY it. What do I really need to pull this off well, like some of these stories you told us?
For money on the front end, the cool thing about merch is you can start with $0, and a way to do that was what I mentioned earlier in terms of pre-orders, running pre-order campaigns. So really deep diving into your target audience, talking to them, seeing what they want, and then building merch around that. And if you have a decent-sized newsletter, a decent-sized community tribe that you've built, you can truly start with $0 and create a pre-order and a digital rendering of the merch and put it out there and just start testing. And if it doesn't work, move on to the next thing. If it works and you're gaining some traction, then people will start buying it. And you can collect that money all on the front end. And as long as you communicate with your customer throughout the entire process, from pre-order campaign launch to goods in hand, they'll be stoked. And so truly, when it comes to merch, you can start with $0. You don't have to create $5,000 worth of T-shirts, pins, and whatever it might be. You can start testing and trying things. It takes some time, but it will definitely pay off for sure.
You just need $12.39 to buy my book, and you can, no, I'm just joking. We're gonna give it out for free for whoever asks questions after. When it comes to PR, you can hire a PR firm like myself to do a monthly kind of PR strategy. You know, PR firms usually these days are anywhere from like $3,500 upwards to $10,000 plus a month. Most of us work off of, 4, 5, 6 month retainers. But another way, and this is kind of what put my firm on the map about a year and a half ago, we did something, I won't get into the logistics because this is being taped, but long story short, we made a partnership with about 500 plus different media outlets, ranging from Rolling Stone to Cosmo to Inverse, Fatherly, Scary Mummy, etc., where now you can go through our back-end platform and say you want an article written about how, I don't know, the merch specialist is the greatest guy and the sexiest man in Nashville. We can have an article, and he goes on our site, it goes on our thing, and he goes, I have a budget of about $1,000. He can get that exact article written by a real writer at any of these publications and posted within 7 days and whatever the cost is. Yeah, I'll tell you. So we kind of have a way where there's a pay to play these days, where it's on the back end. A lot of writers, a lot of editors, after COVID, they're not making good money anymore. So there's some back end deals to be made where you can get articles placed to say whatever you want. The media is not real. Or you can hire a whole strategy where you're now going TV, radio, podcasts, print, newspapers, and all other forms of media with a strategy behind it, not like, the Ukraine girl, but more, to get to where you have to go. Or if you have no money and no startup budget, you don't even have $100 to your name, the simplest way is create a fake email and be your own publicist. And I always say the best thing is, the 5-finger rule. Figure out 5 things that relate to your brand, or yourself. So maybe it's charity, sports, I don't know, whatever. And Google each of those topics, come up with a list of 10 media outlets that pop up on Google for each of those. And for each of those media outlets, get 10 or so contacts. And then have your publicist, whoever it is, reach out to these guys and say, hey, I want to do a story on so-and-so, and this is what they're all about. And hopefully, if you send out 100 plus emails, you'll get 1 or 2 back. And after you get that story going and the interview out or the feature out, then you take that article link and then you go back to everybody again. And you kind of go through the whole process and build yourself up until you're making money, and then you can invest in PR yourself. I put all those steps in my book, so if you ask a question, you'll get a free one. But you can work from no money to lots of money. It's just making sure that, and I always tell people, everybody wants to get famous quickly or go viral or sell $1 million out of the gate. But the thing is, it's easy to do that, but then it's what happens next. So if you're going to take out a billboard, or you're going to get a story in Inverse, or you're going to do a PR stunt, what comes after that? Okay, great, you got the story, but what comes next week, a month later, 2 months later, when people forget about what you just did? So you always have to keep planning ahead, and that's up to everybody and what you got in mind.
I think so in gifting, the thing is that you need a large enough sample size to be able to test it against anything else that you might do from a marketing perspective. And so it doesn't have to be like in the example of Bill with the squeeze recycle bin and the candy bar. That was a pretty inexpensive gift. We sent them in padded mailers as opposed to like actual gift boxes, which traditionally we would do. And so I think it just depends on how, first of all, your budget, right? And second of all, your target audience. And third of all, do you have a big enough sample size? And it doesn't have to be huge. I would say even if you have 100 prospects that you're trying to target and you want to see if you can get meetings or presentations or whatever it is that you want your next step to be, take 50 of them and do whatever you would normally do, and take the other 50 and try to do some gift with it. Know what your budget is, because you can either DIY it, you literally can, or you can come to somebody like us who does it professionally and help you work within whatever that budget is for those 50 gifts, to get really intentional and then to see, okay, where do I get a bigger return? Like, what's working better to get me to the next stage and to get some real engagement?
What questions do you all have? Yeah, back.
Hey guys, I'm Jaggers, Grill and Garden. I am the worst marketer on the planet. I'm all flat. I come from a tech background, but I'm really interested in metrics and ROI and numbers. And one of the things that I struggle with as a small business owner is quantifying the value of brand awareness. Right? Like, I know if I make this many calls with this conversion rate, it's going to be this many sales. So I can hire a person to do that. I can say this spend is this much. And I think there's a little bit of that in the gift thing, but like I'm really intrigued, particularly like with the PR and the swag and stuff like that. And it's hard for me to know, like, is this going to be an effective strategy for my business, especially given that I have a finite set of resources and have to apply them to something, right? Like I'm definitely at that top of funnel. Jess hears me talk about this every week. Top of funnel is my biggest problem. So, you know, how do I think about quantifying, like, hey, should I get a PR team? Should I get a PR firm? Like, how do I measure the return on that kind of investment?
Yeah, I get that question a lot from clients that come in. PR is one of the hardest things to measure, so I'm with you there. I always say this is, if you have a funnel running, you have a tech background obviously, so you know, to get leads into your funnel, probably the best conversion is Facebook ads or whatever else you're running. But I always say is, do people want to be sold to, or do they want to go on their own organically? And so if I walk into Whole Foods and I ask 10 people about your company, if not one of those 10 people, at least here locally, know about your company, then you're doing something wrong. And the way you kind of get, measure success, I guess, in metrics is, I get you an article or I get you in the gift guide of Rolling Stone. Let's just call that. And now it's great, it comes out, we put a promo code so you can track a little bit or click-throughs or whatever else. So you'll be able to track some of the metrics. But now for anytime someone Googles those keywords for SEO purposes, for the gift guide or the features or whatever, you're popping up on the Google search. They might not buy today, but they might buy tomorrow. And the other thing is, if you're in the Rolling Stone gift guide and say you're top 10 in the gift guide, then what you can do is you can actually take that gift guide screenshot, turn it into an ad, turn that into your content for social media, for your Facebook ads, and now when somebody's, for your Facebook ad, if someone's going through and all of a sudden it's like, hey, go buy my book is amazing, buy, they might not click it. You know your ratio of that. But how about if it's like, Rolling Stone called this the #1 this, so-and-so said this, Mark Cuban gave it a thumbs up. You're more likely, with your audience, to have more click-throughs that way. So I always say is, PR is here to get you the awareness, to get you the brand recognition, to get people talking. But then it's up to you to repurpose that stuff in your metric system to be able to get the click-throughs and the social appeal. So yeah, you can go on TV here in Nashville, and I put a lot of my clients on Nashville's TV, and they might be located in California, Alabama, wherever. And I don't give a shit, I swear a lot, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit how many people tuned into that station, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that clip of them on TV, and I'm going to put that on their social media that has much more views than any local station, and I'm going to put some ad dollars behind it. I'm going to boost that, I'm going to push that, and that'll be my whole thing. One of a success story, sorry if I'm talking too much, is I have a client that does snow teeth whitening. You put the thing in your mouth, it lightens your smile, blah, blah, blah. His best converting ad is when we put him on Ellen DeGeneres back in the day with Rob Gronkowski. We put him on TV, that whole thing, yes, they did like a 3-4 minute segment, but that 10-20 seconds, they put that into a Facebook ad, and boom. They've had more converting on that than showing off any new thing. The same thing goes with like CBD companies and marijuana companies. It's hard to do Facebook ads and different things like that because of the keywords. But now, if Rolling Stone is putting you in your gift guide, now your ad is based on Rolling Stone and linking into them, and now you're not linking into the CBD site that's been flagged, so there's the workaround. So the metrics, again, back to your thing, metrics are hard to measure, but it's PRs for the long-term success, with some short-term gain. But you know, if you're looking for a quick, like you want it in a week to make some money, put it all into Facebook ads. Don't do PR. Just put it all in Facebook ads and, you know, figure out your numbers. And you get a book.
The other thing to mind about, as you're using marketing, different metrics, what to measure, consider the thing about the length of your sales cycle. I think sometimes startups, whether because you're new or because you're just curious about what it is that you're selling, is how long it takes. Because you may want twice as many clients this year, and you can say, all right, twice as much marketing and twice as many sales staffs. Or you can cut in half how long it takes you to close a deal. And so think about those metrics too. So sometimes any of these sources up here might get you a wider audience, but it also might educate that audience faster and skip some of those purchasing decision steps. Yes, sir?
Diego, also financial. How do you adapt to niche markets or subsegments of the market, right? An example, I work with the Latino community, so a lot of the mainstream strategies may or may not apply to the niche market or the subsegment market. How do you, and your different segments, how do you adjust to that?
Yeah, so for us, so that actually is exactly where gifting can fit into your strategy, because that's where you start doing account-based marketing and you're specifically speaking to an audience or a demographic or whatever it is, and you are creating gift strategies that are very intentional with inclusions like an entire box of products made entirely by the community that you're trying to serve or target. Or maybe it's not that specific. Maybe it's a theme. Maybe it's a message. Maybe it's are you trying to express thanks or gratitude, or are you trying to say congratulations, or are you trying to, whatever connection you're trying to make. But I think those applications not only are where gifting plays really, really well, but also where you can measure it. Because it's very easy to track then engagement and conversion rate and acceptance rate after someone has received a gift. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, like physical tracking, but also promo codes, or even creating unique URLs for specific groups so that when they respond, you know for sure where those leads are coming from. And so it's very easy to see what your return is on those.
And I would say just, what I always tell all companies is Google your competitors, see where they're getting featured, and get featured in those ones. And with the Latin community, there's Latin Post, Rolling Stone Latina, there's so many different things for that niche market, but it's the same thing with anything. If you're a parent brand, you want to go to parent magazines, you want to go to where the parents are reading. But also, and this is the key to any company, is don't just look within your niche. Look outside. Even though you're a parent, doesn't mean you just want to be in Parents Magazine. Doesn't matter you want to be in Scary Mommy. It's all about, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I have a company, but I have a child. So now I can talk about, raising a kid while working. Now you can talk the entrepreneurial story. I don't know all about you, but I don't know, maybe you're into fashion. So it's like, what does somebody who runs this kind of company wear? And you can go to some fashion press. And I had a restaurant owner the other day, and we got him in a yoga magazine because once a week he does yoga to zen his mind to run a restaurant. So now this whole yoga magazine is doing a whole 2-3 page feature on him, and it's promoting the restaurant at the end, but now it's a more personal interest story where now that niche market of the yoga people, it might not be as big as a Rolling Stone, but their 10,000 readers are so passionate that they're actually going to follow along who this guy is and go follow him. So I would say find your niche and go for your niche market, but also think outside of the box a little bit.
Thank you.
And you gotta look.
I'll take more. And then I would take that and create a fully custom yoga mats and yoga blocks for that restaurant owner to sell, because they will sell. But yeah, I piggyback off of what Rhonda said, intentional. It's all about kind of diving in and knowing what your niche audience wants and needs are. And then you can take, like I said earlier with pre-orders, you can take those and you can create multiple products and split test and really get in there and try things. Is it working? No loss. Move on.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
I love all this. I've got a question about cost per customer acquisition and kind of how that formula works. So I've got a social platform that's getting ready to launch for cooks, and we've actually purchased aprons, really high quality aprons. So I'm kind of looking at both Adam and Rhonda there. my thought was that I would gift them to our earliest subscribers, maybe move towards selling merch at some point, and so if our take is $5 a month, $60 a year, but our aprons are $30, at what point do we look at cost per customer acquisition? Because then we anticipate keeping them 5 years, then it's worth spending more. Does that make sense? Okay.
And you get a book.
So I think that it takes a little bit of time to figure out what your specific customer acquisition cost is going to be through various channels so that you can compare what makes sense. I think that you need a multi-faceted approach. So absolute, like I love that you're going to gift those aprons. I think that packaging is probably key there. Like, you want to make a gifting experience so that if you're giving it to somebody who's already a customer and what you're wanting to do is create a connection that keeps them as your customer, then the gift experience matters. Packaging it in a way that feels like a gift and that they unbox it and that it promotes reciprocity and appreciation. Those are the things that matter in client gifting, so that you create connections and you foster those connections that hopefully last and it becomes a long-term customer and it pays off. It's different when you are targeting a prospect, and it's a little easier to track when you're targeting a prospect because you can track what converts. It's going to be a little harder for you to say, okay, if this client sticks around for 5 years, then it was worth it, but you don't want to wait 5 years to know that. And so I think that you need to be just very specific with things like packaging, the messaging on the cards. I would use a handwritten note rather than something printed. Like those things that actually elevate it from not what the gift is, but what the gift does.
Right. And we're embroidering their names on the first names on the pocket too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's crazy value you're offering there. I would repeat what Ron said. Basically, it parallels exactly, with what you're offering. It takes some time, but really what it comes down to is just from the beginning offering that experience.
And I love that you've got those two metrics in mind. I would encourage any startup at any stage to try and understand, and obviously it can change over time, but what is that lifetime value? You threw out 5 years, that might be your average subscription. You may not be around that long yet, so you only have a limited amount of data to go on. But keep thinking through that. And you always want that LTV to go up. That's something a potential acquirer wants to know about, any sort of investor, because it's aprons today, but then you add a spatula set, and you add a mixing bowl, etc. So you want that. And then your CAC, your customer acquisition cost. That's important to know. And again, it's a lot of experimentation across a lot of channels. But if your CAC is higher than your LTV, then you need to drop that channel. So if it costs me $80 to acquire this customer, but the most they'll give me on average is $50, then I'm losing $30 a customer. I need to stop that immediately. That's your math lesson for the day. But if you're not tracking those two, start doing that.
I'm a freelance marketer, and I primarily work with nonprofits, so I'm curious to hear as entrepreneurs. What is one old school marketing strategy that you think a lot of entrepreneurs miss, and what's top strategy that's on your radar for like the future?
I love nonprofits, and I tell every company, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, to tie into a nonprofit in some way, because it's a little trick, is if you find something that's obviously close to your heart, then it's a good story to tell. And you're also doing good. Also, as you grow, there's some good tax write-offs too. And so I have a client of mine, his name's Nico Mood. He's a country singer here in Nashville. And what he's been through mental health and all that, and he started his own nonprofit. And what we did is, for his song, we decided, you know what, we can't give, record sales because there's enough people, but we can give streaming profits back to nonprofit. And so a lot of artists here in Nashville take out a billboard on Broadway or wherever, and it goes, hey, my new single came out, great. That's a great photo for them to take a photo in front of and post on social media. But what we did with him was we took out a billboard and we put a QR code and we said, scan here to save a life. And what it is it went just to scan his new song, and every time that song streams, it's donating, whatever the streaming profit is back to the nonprofit. So going to your question, old school methods of billboards or ads or stuff, I think people can still do that as long as you're looking at new ways to promote it. So if you're going to take an ad out on a billboard, people can walk by a billboard, but if they don't know the story behind it or there's not a good cause to kind of get them doing something, then it's just there for show. So that would be my kind of take on old school to new school.
Yeah, I'm working with a nonprofit right now, the Educators Co-op, and they got exhausted with trying to, fundraise all the time. And so merch, let's try some merch we've never done before. And so first question, or the first thing we start talking about is, what is your story? And I think that's something that's just going to always stand the test of time is telling your story. And that's something I will always start out with every client, regardless. Is what's your story? What are we telling here? What's your goals? And so I guess telling your story and just getting in the dirt with your community and really leaning on them. That's what I've done almost 20 years ago, and that's what I'll continue to do for another, hopefully, 20 years.
Yeah, same for us. We work with several nonprofits and still do. And they use gifting in their marketing strategies in a couple of different ways. They, as thank you gifts for donors, as outreach, and literally to get meetings, because just like everybody else, like you're just trying to get attention. They're someone's attention, to take a meeting, to hear what they have to say. So like in the development offices, they have really embraced gifting, and it's typically more top of funnel. It's typically, smaller, but meaningful, like well-intentioned something that just says, I'd love to meet for coffee or something.
And you get a book.
And I'm bullish on events. I think just 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we could have done this. This kind of gatherings would have been virtual. And so events are by and large back like they were. And there's still a part of us, I think, that still remembers and is excited to get in a room or a conference or a trade show floor. So I think that old school strategy, but combined with any of these three ideas, a different kind of cool item on the trade show floor, swag bag, something you're giving a key prospect, some kind of cool activation in person that gets attention. I think combining those makes a lot of sense. All right, last question, I'll wrap us up.
Yeah, what's the biggest challenge that each of you face, whether in your respective fields or just individually? I'm the founder of Art of Vivendi, so I'm starting my journey. We just launched like an online store, but I just want to know, like in the different fields, what do you face as challenges?
So for me, right this minute, Connect is a brand new company, and so my challenge professionally right now is leveraging the things that I have done for 30 years and have built skills around, and then also combining those with the things I don't know how to do, which are launch a company, right? And to take the best of all the lessons learned all along the way and really leverage those to get this off the ground. So I'm super happy to have this community of people to learn from and to share experiences with. And I feel like based on just conversations that I've had in the last couple of months, that it's something that like everybody comes into this with a skill set, and it's great, and you can lean into that and leverage that, but you really have to tap into resources like experts in marketing or experts in any of the various fields that you don't necessarily have the expertise in, just to share ideas and knowledge and to learn from and to stay open.
I would say a lot of entrepreneurs that fail are ones that get ahead of themselves. Ones that want to get rich quick, that never works. I mean, maybe one that's every whatever, but people that just they start their business and they're hoping for, a lot of sales right away or that it's going to take off, there's a lot of grinding to do. And so as long as you're doing what you love, because I tell people if you're not doing what you love, get the fuck out of it, And so if you love what you're doing, grind, do it, hustle, make it, and every opportunity, every place you go is an opportunity for you. And that's why even as funny as it is a big hat that I have here, or have my brand logo here, the thing is why am I promoting another brand? Why am I wearing, Titleist Golf or whatever it is? Promote yourself. Be your brand. You're going out, you're going for dinner, you're going for lunch, wherever you go, people are looking at you. So promote what you're doing. Always, be, eyes open and, be willing to network, be willing, like Rhonda said, if you don't know everything. I don't know everything, she doesn't know everything, well, you might know everything. But I mean, you don't know everything. And so find the people that can help you. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I always say, is find a mentor or two or three, and people that you look up to. I did that when I was starting out, and learn from them. People are willing to share information. I mean, we're all here for a reason. You guys are here listening to us, we're here listening back, but everybody is willing to share information. So just, reach out, slide into someone's DM. Be like, hey man, I love what you're doing, I love your store. Can you just give me a quick couple, moments of your time? They might not jump on a call with you, but if you ask the questions, they'll get back to you. And keep, being persistent and hustling, and it will grow and it will happen.
Congrats on your launch. And so I think sifting through the noise is some of the hardest thing. And I think that goes back to telling your story. And you have a story to tell, and people need to hear it, and it can change somebody's life. And so I think, just telling your story, getting in front of people, and as Sam always talks about, just really important is just building your community around your brand, but yourself. You're your biggest advocate. So go, do it.
Round of applause for today's panel. A few quick notes in closing. Again, all three of these folks are going to be here for conversations afterwards. We do something here at least every week, so you can visit ec.co/events and see what is coming up. You'll see on that page both our events, but also awesome events around the city that are great for entrepreneurs. Our happy hour is a week from today. Free co-working day if you're not a co-work member or want to invite a friend. Come down here on the 25th. The next installment of our Serial with a Serial Entrepreneurs series is coming on Thursday, May 2nd. That's with Mark Cleveland, who has started multiple companies here in town. That's just an interview series. We've got a buffet of cereals. We do now have healthy options. I'm told that people like that. But we also always have Frosted Flakes. And then we've got our Capital Series event for next month is Divvying Up the Dream Equity Q&A. So if you are raising money thinking about it, how much should I own? How much should the investor own? Do I give some shares to an advisor? It's all going to be answered. We're going to talk with some folks there. And then our next member lunch is on May 9th. We're doing a program on neurodiversity. And so Dave Delaney is hosting a session. He was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and he's done a lot of research and is bringing a lot of research related to particularly ADHD and entrepreneurship, but also other areas and topics when it comes to neurodivergence and its overlap with entrepreneurship. So a lot of times these lunch and learns are technical, kind of like today's was, but a lot of times they're also mental, emotional, and about the entrepreneur, the individual. And so we're excited for that lunch then. And real quick, you can sign up on the left is for our Good Company newsletter. It comes out every other week. And on the right, tell us what you thought about today. We absolutely want to know. We've got some more food, I think, back there, and we've got some fun people in the room. So stay, hang out. Thank you all for coming today.
And there's some more books. I know you don't have to ask some questions. There's a few left, so just stay.